The number one question I get asked every single day on stream is, can I hold your hand?
Una paellera y a ver solamente paellera.
But the close second is, how do I get out of Plat? And do you have any tips for me? Now, I usually just default to the get into as many fights as possible and become a shooter, and you'll eventually get out of Plat. But I understand that that doesn't cut it for everybody. So, spend a couple hours. I watched a lot of the Get Out of Plat YouTube videos and wrote down a bunch of notes. So if you see me look down, I'm looking at my notes. But I'm about to give you guys some good shit, alright? So you want to get out of Plat, and I think a good place to start is find out what player you are. Are you getting out of Plat because you want to hit Diamond and that's it? You're going to stop there? Or do you want to improve? Because there's two ways to go about this, and we're going to talk about improving first, and if you don't want all of that, then you can skip straight to the timestamp below, and just going to give you the bare minimum, how you can get to Diamond. Don't really care about improving too much, all that stuff. So, you're looking for improvement. The first step is recognize what makes you a Plat player, and what makes you a Diamond player, and so on and so forth, all the way up to Masters and Pred and stuff like that. The big difference, at least to my knowledge and what I tell everybody, is the big difference between Plat and Diamond is usually decision making, and that can be improved on heavily. Even when you think you got it figured out, that can always be improved on. So to all of my players that want to improve, this part is especially for you. Step 1, writing down the cause of your death. This is super important. Not enough people do this. So say you're in a gunfight, you die. You can't always just blame your teammate, whether you're solo queuing or not. You can't always blame your teammate. There's always something you could have done a little bit better. And that could have been before the fight even started. You could have realized before pushing a fight that it was not a good fight to take. Or maybe if you were recording, you could look back in your recording and see that there's actually another team really close, and that's why you got thirded and ended up dying. Or there could have been a million reasons why. So step 1 is write down why you die. Did you die because bad aim? Did you die because of bad positioning? Did you die because of bad movement? Or did you die simply because you took a bad fight? All of those should be written down. Every single one. And then when you log on each day, look at your notes from the night before and pick one. Hey, I died a lot to poor movement. So today, I'm practicing my movement. And then the next day, be like, I'm going to practice my gun skill. Try to hit as many shots as possible, get into as many fights as possible, stuff like that. At the end of the day, the best way to improve as a Plat player is to get into as many fights as you possibly can. I'm sure we've all been there where we're in a fight and our heart's beating really, really fast and we're nervous and maybe our aim is shaking a little bit. The more fights you get into and the more situations that are tough that you get into like that, the less stressful they become. And so the more rational you can think, and that's very important. Now, writing down the cause of your death is very important, but that's only step 1. Number 2, game sense. Now, this is an incredibly broad term, and so I'm going to break it down a little bit for you guys. Number 1, where is my enemy, right? You got to figure out, is there another team close by that you didn't initially notice? And if there's not, and you're only seeing one team, where's this team? Like, are they split? Is there somebody off, like a Pathfinder or a Bloodhound, that went off to go scan a beacon? Are they holding different buildings? Is one caught out looting? Is one on the roof, 2 down below? Where is your enemy? This is very important because you can team shot. If there's one holding roof, 2 down below inside of a building, they may have not noticed you yet. You could easily team shot, and that creates an opening. Creating openings is very, very important when pushing a team because it allows you to finish fights quicker. The quicker the fight, the less chance to get third-partied. A lot of teams may come in for a third party, but then they notice you're done, you're healed up. They will most likely not push you. Another thing that you can group into game sense is repositioning. If you're in a fight, the last thing you want to do is be predictable, allowing the enemy to know exactly where you're going to come from. And I got a clip that I'm going to show you in a second, and then we could break it down a little bit. but it's a good example of being unpredictable and not letting my enemy realize where I'm gonna come from and where I'm gonna shoot from. So let's go ahead and look at that.
Hope this guy doesn't hate me, or I'm dead.
Oh my god, what the fuck was that?
Thank you.
Got you, dog.
Is that the Bangalore? Nope.
Just real quick.
Who needs a fucking shotgun bolt? I guess not me. Okay, so I skipped past the first couple seconds because that's just me walking up pushing this team. But I can definitely see somebody right here at this door. So I double nade it. I throw a frag at the ground and I have an arc star that I'm about to throw with it. The reason for that is because the frag is gonna blow up first and then the arc star is still gonna be out here, so he cannot push out. If he opens the store, he's gonna get hit by the frag. But if he waits until after this explodes, then he's gonna get hit by the arc too. So he has to reposition. He is not going to be able to come out of this door.
That hurt.
After I throw that, I immediately push around to where he's going to rotate. He's either gonna rotate to this back door where I'm gonna look out right now, or he's gonna rotate to like this middle little cubby hole.
Hope this guy doesn't hate me.
I open this door, and for a glimpse, I'll rewind that. You can see him right here. I open this door, I see the caustic gas, and I see him right there coming, like, going around. That's the same dude that was holding the door. You can see him, a better angle right here. It's the fuse. So I see that guy right there.
I'm dead.
And I know he was on the door healing, right? So then I just took a wild shot right here. Ended up knocking him. Oh my god! What the fuck was that? So then I take the roof to chase after this guy. It's the Bloodhound. And he has no idea where I'm at. So I just get free shots on him. Dog. I want to rewind right quick so I can show you a little bit more about right here. When I'm coming down, I'm scanning this area looking for teams coming in. I'm scanning, I'm looking over here, I'm looking over here.
Thank you.
I look down and I'm checking the corner. I'm looking over here. You can't see because my webcam's in the way. But I look inside this area. I'm checking the corners here. I realize that I don't see anybody. It's free. The other person is most likely still inside.
Is that the Bangalore?
So by the time I come in, this gas trap that I set off earlier is already gone.
Nope.
So I can pretty much safely push in.
Just real quick.
Who needs a fucking These guys had no clue where I was ever coming from, and they could never set up and even shoot at me. So that's what I mean when I say that you should be repositioning in fights. I got one more clip about repositioning I want to show you guys before we move on. So let's go ahead and play the whole thing, and then I'll break it down for you. Bro, I've never IGL'd.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, dude. I just look for fights. Right here, on me. Right, shredded 100.
Oh no,
They burned bubble.
They bubbled back.
Yeah. I roast those fools.
popping it back,
Just
popping it
reset, yeah. You have ults?
Yeah. You want me to throw it at him?
Yeah, drop it on them. And then back up this way, back up this way. This is where they're gonna go. You push
They're
them.
ulting us back.
Yeah, that's why you push this way.
I'm fucked. Oh my god.
I'm looking for you.
We know they had a Gibby. See right here.
I gotta watch for you.
Yeah, Gibby's almost shredded. Gibby's one. Gibby's literally one. I'm being aped by Bloodhound.
Cracked him. I got a bat behind us. Help! Someone look! Someone look! Someone look! Someone look! There's that kid for armor.
Coming up right here. Gibby.
You kill that kid. You kill that kid. Good job. Pick me up. Good job, boys.
You're ready for the next fight. We're gonna get third, dude. Yep. Okay. So now that played all the way through, let's start at the very beginning. I jailed.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, dude. I just look for fights. Right here, on me. So I see this Wraith. Wraith shredded 100. If you look at shields, I still have my shield. Ryu still has his shield. Tank still has his shield. We obviously won the damage trade. We cracked the Wraith and we shredded the Gibby that walked up too. Our Gibby burned bubble a little bit early, but that's okay because they also burned bubble.
Oh no,
They burned bubble. We take this time to reset and heal up because this whole fight is going to reset. We can't really push a bubble fight without any information. We don't know if they have mastiffs, and going in like this, isn't really the smartest decision. So now that we both burn bubble, it's best just to reset, heal up, and then come at a different angle.
They bubbled back.
Yeah. I roast those fools. Just reset. Yeah. You have ults?
Yeah. You want me to throw it at him?
Yeah, drop it on them. So my thought process here is we fully reset. If you look at where zone is, we came in through right here, and then they're trapped over here by this res beacon. They already burned a bubble, so if we ult them right on them, their only option is to come back around through this choke right here. So if we toss ult and then rotate, we cut them off, and we still have height on them. We get to look down on them for free. So that's why I wanted the Gibby to ult them, so then we can immediately rotate and cut them off. And then back up this way, back. And as you can tell, I'm calling back up this way. Back up this way. This is where they're gonna go. You push them.
They're ulting us back.
We knew they had a Gibby, so I was waiting for them to ult us back. I knew it was coming, and I was just hoping that everyone else could be a little bit quicker on the rotate. Luckily, my buddy doesn't die here. Yeah, that's why we push this way.
I'm fucked. Oh my god.
I'm looking for you.
We know they had a Gibby. See right here. Now I catch this Gibby rotating way before his other teammates, so I kind of roast this man.
I gotta watch for Ryu.
Yeah, I win the damage trade here by a lot, and I also make use of this tree, and I play it really, really well. Gibby's almost shredded. Gibby's one. Gibby's literally one. I'm being aped by Bloodhound. So I don't know if you caught that, but I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. Right here. Gibby's one. Gibby's literally one. I'm being aped by Bloodhound. So right here, when I'm shooting the Gibby, I can see Bloodhound come up right here. So I can see that, and so I know immediately to keep playing this cover. We get good team shots off on the Bloodhound, and now it's a 3v2.
I got a bat behind us. Help, someone look, someone look, someone look, someone look.
Sadly, Tanks goes down there, and it's turned into a 2v2, but we get a 2v1 this Wraith, which immediately turns the fight back into our favor. As I'm coming up right here, as I'm slide jumping, I can see this Gibby right here.
There's that kid for armor.
Coming up right here. Gibby.
You kill that kid, you kill that kid. Good job.
And that's another 2v1. And then I come over here, I heal up, Ryu gets the res, and I say to watch out for the third party. Next, I want to talk about creating openings. This is huge. If you're going to take anything out of this video, it should probably be this. I see a lot of people just aping teams without creating an opening, and aping isn't bad. Oftentimes, it's a really good way of pushing, but you have to have a good team, good comms, and all be confident in being able to take your ones. Creating an opening basically means you're getting one person out of the fight. If you're going to push a team, and earlier I used the example of if one person is sitting on a building and the other two are down low, you can use that to create an opening by team shotting the guy on the building. That could be anything from cracking him to knocking him. Getting a crack is a really good opportunity to push, especially if you're doing like 150 damage to somebody. They're going to be out of the fight for a while, full healing. So if you get a crack and you're close enough to push right away, take advantage of that. Creating an opening is a very important skill you guys need to be taking advantage of. Earlier I used the example of if one person was on top of the building and then the other two are down low, team shotting the guy on top and possibly getting a knock, or even just doing a lot of damage to them, gets them out of the fight. Even if they get the res, they're going to be weak and healing unless they have a gold backpack, which oftentimes that's not the case. Getting one person out of the fight is very important because that allows you to 3v2 the team. Keep in mind, you don't want to instantly rush in and try to kill the guy that you got weak. If you can angle on him, that's great. Knock the dude, get him out of the fight, and then 3v2. But the last thing you want to do is throw because you're horny for one kill. Keep in mind, if somebody's out of the fight, it's a 3v2 and you play your 3v2s. Another good way to create an opening is damage trades. If you're in a fight and say I did 120 damage to somebody, but they did 50 to me, and then my buddy did 100 damage and cracked somebody else, but only took 25 damage, we won that damage trade. That is a good push. We're going in, even though we're not going in as full as possible, we can go in not fully healed up because we did more damage. So if you guys are in a 3 stack, preferably, this won't really work solo queuing, but if you're in a 3 stack or even a 2 stack, winning damage trades is huge. A lot of times, especially in Plat, players won't expect you to push if you're not full HP. And that's a lot of why there's so many third parties in Plat. People don't push unless they get a knock in Plat. And that's pretty common. Most players don't push off of damage trades or shield cracks. Some do, a lot don't. So fights go on for a very, very long time. You could spend even 2 minutes fighting the same team. That's just extra noise going on, allowing a bunch of teams to go towards those shots. Ideally, you want to finish each fight in about 30 seconds or less. I think if you start implementing this and finishing your fights faster, you might be getting third party a lot less than you'd actually think. Now, it is a battle royale, and right now, at the time of recording this, we are playing on Kings Canyon, and third parties are really, really bad. But third parties will always be a thing. I'm not saying you won't get third partied ever if you finish a fight in 30 seconds or less, but it is a lot less likely. Going along with this, I want to talk about creating space. For lack of a better words, that's what I'm going to call it. And if you're in a fight for over 30 seconds, and it's a long fight, sometimes it's best just to reposition and back out for a minute. If you're taking shots to somebody and you're kind of even on damage trades, you get cracked, you crack them, and so it's just kind of a stalemate. You heal, they heal. A lot of times that could just go on for a very long time until somebody decides to push. So you're going to get a lot of teams come in and try to third you guys. The last thing you want to do is be caught up in the middle of a third party like that. If you're in a long fight, oftentimes what you're going to want to do is just try to reposition, preferably to a high ground spot. Now, what happens when you see the third party coming? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from behind you? Because if so, now you're sandwiched. Are they coming from behind the enemy team? If so, that's a good thing, because now you have a team sandwiched. The more they get shot at, the easier you have the chance of stealing a kill. That's KP. You always have to be aware of things. That's why it's always good to have the high ground. And I know so many of you guys are going to be like, yo, we know get the high ground. That's like the oldest trick in the book. But you'd be surprised on how many times I'm playing with randoms in ranked solo queuing, and a lot of them are so easily giving up the high ground. Even in Diamond and Master queues, a lot of them give up the high ground without even thinking about it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about team comp. I'm not going to go super in depth with it, but I do want to touch up a little bit on what makes an edge team and what makes a zone team. If you're playing an edge team, you're definitely going to want a Gibby. And then with that, you're going to want a Bloodhound or a Pathfinder. And then you're going to need an aggressive character, usually Wraith, Horizon, and now Octane. Now, I do prefer having a recon character, and you can use Crypto. But Crypto's not really in the best state right now, so I don't really advise using him unless you have a Wraith, where you can have the Wraith port into the fight. Crypto uses his EMP, and then ports straight into the fight. You can also do this with Octane, but once Olympus comes around, I feel like Octane is going to be a little bit less useful with his jump pads, just because how easy he is to shoot. Right now he excels because there's so many trees in Kings Canyon. When he's in the air, he's harder to see. So Wraith is definitely going to be a better choice, but you still can use Crypto. I just don't really recommend it. I definitely think Pathfinder is going to be a lot better now that he's getting low profile removed, and then Bloodhound's always going to be a solid choice. An example of a zone team is going to be somebody that finds the circle and holds a spot there early game. It's a lot less needed in Plat. Usually you don't really need to play like this until a little bit higher elo, sometimes Diamond, but mainly Masters. But an example of a zone team would be a defender like Caustic or Watson, having a recon character, somebody like Bloodhound, Pathfinder, or Crypto, but Crypto still isn't the best. Now, which defender you choose kind of depends on the map. If you're playing Kings Canyon, Caustic is the way to go. If you're playing Olympus or World's Edge, Watson might actually be a better choice, especially with Watson's buff coming. The reason for that is on both those maps, there's a lot of open ground and less buildings, depending on where the zone ends, of course. But Watson holds the outside open areas a lot better than Caustic. Caustic holds buildings a lot better than Watson. So just kind of figure out what you want to do. So now that you know your playstyle and how you want to play, whether it be a zone team or an edge team, the next thing you want to do is figure out a drop spot. Now this can be anywhere. I don't really recommend dropping at one spot only. For instance, on World's Edge, I like to drop in the 4 corners. One of the 4 corners. It just depends on where the ship is taking you. Now this goes especially for the zone players. I like to drop where I know there's at least one team either coming with me or coming close. It's very important to get early KP. That way you can set up and be comfortable when it comes to RP. If all things go according to plan, you're gonna be in the top 10 with around 3 KP and looking at going positive. And that's very important for a zone team. You can also do this if you're an edge team, which isn't a bad idea, but for the edge team, your strat will most likely be pushing teams out of their spot. When you land, it's a good idea to look for an early fight, but you don't have to. What you're looking for is somewhere where you know your back is going to be safe, and you're very unlikely to have 3-4 teams push you all at once. What you want to do is you want to find a safe side near the next zone where you don't have to travel too far, because you don't want to be held out. So that's why I recommended recon character. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more than I talked about the zone team, because that's pretty self-explanatory. What you want to do is when you drop, you want to find a spot with a beacon. You're going to hit that beacon right away. You're going to look for a safe edge where the next circle is going to be, and you're going to just chill there for a little bit. Now hopefully you found a way to get some early KP on the way to that circle. Your next move is going to be finding a team you can push when that zone comes in. You don't want to be far away. That's why the recon character is important. That's why you need the zone. Because if you have to travel for a far distance, you're going to run into teams also rotating, and you have a better chance of getting held out of zone by teams that got there first. So you want a short distance that you have to travel, and an easy team that you could just wipe out and take their spot. You may be asking yourself right now, well, do I play edge or do I play zone? And that just comes down to what type of player are you? Like I previously mentioned, there's 2 types of players. Players that want to improve and players that want to hit diamond. If you're a player that wants to improve, oftentimes I'm going to tell you, find as many fights as possible. And usually to do that, you're going to be the edge team, looking for as many isolated fights as possible. Now, really good players also play zone. I'm not saying bad players play zone. Now, if you're looking at ranking up as fast as possible and you don't really care about improving mechanically, maybe you are already comfortable with how you are mechanically, aim, movement, all that, then I would recommend playing zone. That way, you have a better chance of surviving at least until endgame with possibly a few KP. Okay, so I was editing this video and I realized I didn't fully explain what I was talking about when I was comparing zone teams to edge teams, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't get any confusion when I was saying that if you really wanted to rank up and didn't care about improving, play zone. The reason I was saying that is because Plat is the perfect elo to improve. If you aren't mechanically skilled enough, by the time you get to diamond, you're gonna be hard stuck D4. So when I was saying playing zone and play safe, by the time you get to diamond and you aren't good enough, you're gonna have a very hard time improving. But when I was saying playing something like edge, play it safer and take isolated fights, but take as many fights as possible that you think are good, that's why I was saying that that's for the team that wanted to improve. If you're holding zone, that means you're trying to avoid fights, make it to end game. But if you aren't mechanically skilled, you're gonna have a hard time improving when you get to diamond. Alright, just want to clear things up. Back to the video. So now that we talked about the difference between edge teams and zone teams, I want to talk about good fights to take versus bad fights to take. Because there is a big difference. And I'm gonna show an example of me getting killed while I was solo queuing in a diamond lobby. And it was a good fight for us to take, but a bad fight for the enemy team to take on us. So let's watch that, and then I'll break it down for you. Up here, cracked.
We finished the squad, my brothers. That's how you get the job done.
Nice choice.
Reload.
There's guys on the push, they're pushing out. I need shotgun ammo.
Shotgun ammo for you. 109 on Bloodhound. Oh, he crabbed me.
Oh, fuck.
Down one. Reload.
Oh man, I knocked one there.
Nice.
GG's.
Good try, man.
Thanks. GG's.
GG. Good game.
They're gonna die to zone. They're dying to zone.
Let us go this way.
They grieve their own game. You're dead to zone, dumb fucks. Stupid. Wow. Okay, so let's break this down. Before this clip, there was a team stuck down here in this building and a team up right here behind this wall. As we were rotating in, we happened to notice that and we had free shots on them. So we cleaned up the team down here and this team had major damage. Like we roasted these guys and it was a good push for us. We have a knock right here and so we push up. We actually have 2 knocks. So we wipe this team and we have 50 seconds to rotate. Now we can rotate behind. There's still space for us to rotate behind here if we really had to, but we still have plenty of time to rotate wide if we have to.
You finish the squad, my brothers. That's how you get the job done. Reload.
There's guys on the push. They're pushing out. I need shotgun ammo.
Shotgun ammo for you. So I roast the Bloodhound 109 just as my team goes down. We're still looking at a 2v2 just because Bloodhound won't be able to fight with 90 HP. 109 on Bloodhound. My teammate just kind of just jumps into 2 people before I even have like a chance to react. And I noticed that he jumped into 2 people. I'm not going to give up my high ground. So I try to get some shots off from the top. One thing to note here is if your teammates fall down and lose high ground and jump into a bad situation, sometimes it's best to, this might sound bad, but sometimes it's best just to let them die and make the mistake. Don't make the same mistake your teammates made just for the sake of trying to help. Oh, he crabbed me.
Oh, fuck.
So I was able to get the knock there, and I'm just looking for these other 2 guys to pop up and push me.
Down one. Reload.
Oh man, I knocked one there. Sadly, I get roasted.
Nice.
GG's.
Good try, man.
Thanks. There's really not a whole lot that I could have done there except for keep the high ground, try to swap armors, but I think all of them were pretty much broken. I probably could have gone for the thirst, but I needed to save that Mastiff ammo. GG's.
GG. Good game.
Now these guys spend a little bit of extra time looting when zone's coming in, and I noticed that, and they have to go all the way around. They're gonna die to zone. They're dying to zone. And we all know how this turned out. They all died to zone, and the thing is, they had max KP. At least this guy did. They didn't need that fight. What they could have done, and what they should have done, is go into zone, try to get a good position, and then hold us out. That's what they should have done. But instead, they took a fight and griefed their own game. So when looking for a fight, game sense is very important. That's why it was so high up on the list. Before you get into a fight, you want to take a look of your surroundings. That's everything from how many teams are nearby, when is zone closing in, what zone is it, will I be able to make it if the zone catches up to us? You should account for all of those things when looking for a fight. I want to briefly touch on your team's position. This is going to be mainly important for all those that are solo queuing, but this is also very essential if you're in a full party. If you're pushing a fight and you're not aware of your team's position, especially if you don't have comms with the rest of your team, it could be very, very bad if you think that you're pushing, you think that your team is pushing with you. And so you go in and you do damage and then you get knocked and you look at your radar to see where your team is and they're not with you. that is very bad. I've done it quite a bit. I pushed a team thinking my team was going with me, and they weren't. Even though I called it, they just weren't listening, or they weren't paying attention, or maybe they were focused on a different team, or there's so many reasons why they could have not pushed with me. But mainly this happens when I'm solo queuing. So being aware of your team's position is always important. This still goes for when you're in a full party. I've had it happen to me a few times when I've been in a full party. That also applies to when you're rotating. Sometimes you'll call a rotation and say, follow me, I'm going this way, and both your teammates might go a different way. It's at that point you have to make a decision on whether or not you're just gonna keep going the way you're going, or if you're gonna just decide to go with your team. Sometimes it's better just to go with your team, even though you don't think it's a good idea. The best piece of advice I can give you guys is it's better to commit to a bad idea than not commit to anything at all. And that's where I'm gonna leave you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. I also stream on Twitch every single day. I'll leave a link down below. If you enjoyed the video, you might enjoy my streams as well. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.